This is your stage 38 review. On the left-hand side, I have our subjunctive use, the things that you're going to be expected to know using the subjunctive: result clause, purpose clause, indirect command, indirect question, cum clause, and fear clause. Now I'm going to go over those. I want to spend more time translating the infinitive. Here I have a sentence: dicit sextum puellam amare, amare being the infinitive. I want to show you the difference in the infinitives and how we translate them. First of all, this is a present active infinitive. We know that the present active infinitive, all present infinitives are going to be translated as the same time. Now, as the main verb, here we have a present tense main verb. We have a present tense infinitive. Because dicit is present, we're going to translate amare as present as well. So our translation would be, he says that Sextus loves the girl. Indirect statement, going to be on your test. You're going to have to translate it properly. Make sure that you translate the present active infinitive as the same time. If I have a perfect active infinitive, I want to translate it as before the main verb. Same sentence, I've replaced amare with amawisi, which makes it perfect. So I change the sentence to, he says that Sextus loved the girl. I need an action with amawisi that happened before dicit, which is in the present tense. So I changed it to the past tense. If I change the infinitive to amaturam essa, it is am amaturam because it has to agree with the subject. No, that's wrong. It has to be um because the subject of the loving is sextum. He says that Sextus will love the girl. Because it's future active, I have to change it to something that happens after the main verb. Main verb is in the present, so I have to translate the future as something after the present. In this case, will love. Now these are examples of the active, of the present active, the perfect active, and here the future active infinitives. What happens if I get the passive infinitive? Well, first I have to decide who's receiving the action. In this case, it's going to be the girl. So I'm going to change the girl to the subject. So I have, he says that the girl. I also have a, to change Sextus to the person doing the action, so I need an ablative of agent. And I need to get rid of that active infinitive as well. We'll start off with the present passive infinitive. Because it is present, it's going to be translated as the same time. But I also have to make the girl the subject of the infinitive, and I have to make Sextus the ablative of agent. So I end up with, he says that the girl is loved by Sextus. Now I can change the infinitive from the present to the perfect passive. When I do that, I'm going to end up with amatam essa. The am, it is amatam because puellam is the subject of this infinitive. I change from same time to before. He says that the girl was loved by Sextus. We do have a future passive infinitive, amandam essa. It does translate as after the main verb dicit. But remember, with that nd plus b, we get the gerundive of obligation, also called the passive periphrastic. So our translation would be, he says that the girl must be loved by Sextus. So to recap, if I have a present active infinitive, I translate it as the same time. Here I have amare. He says that Sextus loves the girl. For the perfect active, it happens before. So I have amawisse, that's my perfect active infinitive. He says that Sextus loved the girl. Future active, I change it to amaturam essa, like that. And I translate it as after. He says that Sextus will love the girl. Now I can move to my passive, but remember my passive, I have to have an agent, and I'm going to change the girl to the subject. If I use the present passive amare, I've changed Sextus to the ablative of agent. I've kept puellam as my subject. He says that the girl is loved by Sextus. Translates as the same time. Change it to the perfect passive. Happens before. He says that the girl was loved by Sextus. Make sure that amanum modifies puellam. If I go to the future passive, that happens after the main verb. It also creates the passive paraphrastic. This is our gerundive plus be, and be plus be equals must be. He says that the girl must be loved by Sextus. Translating these infinitives in these indirect statements is a large part of your test, so make sure you're able to do these. Next, we have the tense and mood of verbs. So what tense is it? Is it indicative? Is it subjunctive? Also voice. Is it active or passive? I didn't put that on there, but that's important. So if I look at these 10, I should be able to look at them and tell you, oh, that's subjunctive, that's indicative, that's present, that's future, whatever. So go through that and tell me what you have. Hopefully you came up with these. You have a perfect active subjunctive. Number 2, present active subjunctive. Number 3, pluperfect active subjunctive. Number 4, present active subjunctive. 5, pluperfect passive subjunctive. 6, imperfect passive subjunctive. 7, pluperfect passive subjunctive. 8, pluperfect active subjunctive. 9, perfect active subjunctive. And 10, pluperfect passive subjunctive. There are some things that I could look for to help me out. Here I've highlighted the markers that should help you out. For perfect, you're going to get ERI. For present, you're going to have normally an A. A is a sign of the subjunctive, unless like number 4, something that is first conjugation changes its A to an E. ISSE is pluperfect active. You get that ESSET or ESSEM, whatever, for your second part, like on number 5. You're going to get a pluperfect passive. If you get an infinitive, that's present. If you get an infinitive, it's imperfect. If you add that R, that makes it passive, so imperfect passive. Number 7, I get the esset, so it's still pluperfect. Number 8, I get ISSE, that's pluperfect. Number 9, ERI is perfect. Number 10, ESSE, again, pluperfect. All of these here are infinitives. You're going to be able to tell me what tense and what voice these infinitives are. For example, number 1 would be present active. You do the rest. Remember, you only have 3 tenses of infinitives. You have present, future, and perfect. Here I gave you each one of those. You also have active and passive. So number 1, present active. 2, present passive. 3, present active. 4, present active. 5, future active. That should be a maturum. I didn't change that. 6, future passive. 7 is future active. 8, perfect active. 9, present passive. And 10, perfect passive. Should be unctum as well. Should have changed that to an accusative. Here's a translation that has a couple of tricky things, because they're going to have a couple of kind of trick questions from your translation. This is from one of your stories, and it has some of those tricky ones in it. Without a doubt, you, just as your father, will be killed most disgracefully. The qui here is a relative pronoun with no relative to go to, so we translate it just as a he. Relatives carried over to that next sentence without something to relate back to, we just use it as a personal pronoun, he. He, having been elected consul, made, factus est, passive voice of facio is going to be translated as made or become. He became hateful, odio, hateful to Domitiano, to Domitian, because a herald, praiko, herald, used the word emperor for consul by chance or by accident. Now I gave you 5 words over here, dubio, frater, praiko, verbo, and odio, and ask you what case they are. Well, dubio is pretty obvious. Being used with sine, it's going to be an ablative because sine takes the ablative. Frater as well, pretty obvious. It is a subject that's being used in reference to a subject, so it is a nominative. Praiko, a little tougher. This is one of those third declension words. It looks like something that it's not. This is just praiko. Praikonis is a herald. Praiko is the nominative form. Verbo. Usus takes the dative, and that's why verbo is dative. And then we have odio, which is also dative. So some kind of tricky questions there that you might want to be aware of. Make sure that you know what takes the dative, what takes the accusative, what kind of accusative or ablative goes with a preposition. Make sure they don't trick you with some of those. third declensions too. Here's a couple more. Here's 5 that you can choose what kind of subjunctives I'm using. Forgive me for putting these all in one spot, but good luck. You have A through H. So there's 5 of them. See what you got. If you came up with these answers, then you're well on your way. Same thing for the infinitives. Here are 5 infinitives with your choices above. See if you can get those. If you have these answers, you did a good job. So I have perfect present passive. Remember, I'm just changing my ARE to an ARI or an ERE to an ERI. Third conjugation takes off the ERE and adds an I. And then fourth just changes the IRE to IRI. I add ISSE for my perfect active using the perfect stem. Portares obviously are present active. I use the fourth principal part plus turum, opterum, and then essa for my future active. And then for my perfect passive, that's what that is, not future passive. There you go, D. One of these days I'm going to make it through an entire video without making a mistake. Not today, though. Portatum essa is a perfect passive. Fourth principal part plus essa. Next I have marriage and women of Rome. There are a ton of questions about marriage on this test. First, you need to know what's Roman, what's present-day marriage, and what occurs in both. All of the yellows happen both. Engagement, marriage certificate, witnesses, wedding cake, ring, wedding feast, traditional vows, wearing a veil, carrying over the threshold, feeding first slice of cake. All of those happen in both Roman and present-day weddings. All of the greens are only Roman. Sacrifices, well, that's arguable. A man has to sacrifice his entire life when he gets married today, but I guess they're not counting that. Pulling away the bride by force, again, that's just Roman. Removal of a bulla. I don't even know what a bulla is in present day, so I'm pretty sure we don't use those today. Anointing the doorposts with oil, that's pretty much only Roman. Parting the hair with a spear. I did this at my wedding, but I guess they don't count that. That's only Roman. Torchlit procession, again, that's only for rednecks today, so only Romans. Noisy greeting and jokes, Romans. All of the bluish are present day only. Father giving away the bride is a tradition that is for today's weddings only. I know that the emperor gave away the bride and she was adopted, but wasn't necessarily a custom of the Romans. Throwing rice and flowers, that's for us. First dance, that is also for present day. Every single one of these are on your test. The role of women is also introduced or in this cultural section. Could they vote? No, they could not. Were they restricted to the home? No, they didn't have to stay at home. They could go out. Could they sit on a jury? No way. Could they go to the theater? Yes, normally with their husband. Manage the household? They were the managers of the household. Plead a case in the court of law? Nope. You had no legal rights as a woman. Could they go to the baths? Yep, they actually had baths for women's. Politics. They really couldn't play any role in politics. The only influence that they would have would be influence in their husband's decisions, but they couldn't play an active role in politics themselves. Could they visit friends? Sure. Company husband? Wherever he is, I am. Age of marriage for man and woman. Okay, for the man, it was the early 20s. At 19 to 20 years old was the earliest that he would probably get married. For women, 13 to 14. The way that the husband was selected was by the father. Types of marriage: you had sinu manu, without the hand, and you had cum manu, which was with the hand. What were the differences in those two? Cum manu was more of a legal binding marriage. If you went through that process, the women would have no right for divorce. They would have no dowry recovery. And they basically had no rights. If they went with sinu manu, which is without the hand, they would have a right for divorce and they could recover the dowry. So in present day terms, cum manu was a premarital contract, a prenuptial agreement that says that the woman wouldn't take away anything from the man. And the sinu manu would be a more of a a normal wedding today where there isn't a prenuptial, and if you get divorced, well, you split the profits. Reasons for marriage. For the men, it was more political. You wanted to marry somebody from a you wanted to marry a daughter of somebody who was important, somebody who had influence. For women, the only reason that they were getting married was to produce heirs. That was their only job, produce children. Latin terms, sine manu, that's the type of wedding where the woman does not pass over to the husband's family. She still has some rights. She remains a member of her father's family. Dos is a dowry. Flammium is a bridal veil. Kumanu is the type of wedding where she would actually pass over to the husband's family. She would have no legal rights at that point. Ubi tu Gaius ego Gaius, that would be a wedding vow where you are Gaius, I am. Conferatio, that would be the eating of the cake. Far is a sacred grain that they would use as a part of their marital vows, or the marital exchange. Junctio duxtrum is the joining of the right hands. Matroni unavirai, those are the bride undressers. Sponsilia is an engagement. That's what you would call it if you were engaged. Here are the characters. You have Domitianus. He's the emperor. Domitian and Vespasian, those are the two brothers that Domitianus adopts. Flavia is the mom that Paula is griping to, but she doesn't pay attention. Paula is a woman who's having to marry Sparsus, who's the old dude. Sparsus is rich and gets to do pretty much whatever he wants. Calpurnia was a wife of a famous writer. Clemens is the father of Domitian, Vespasian, and Paula. Helvidius is in love with Paula, and he gets executed for his love. Quintilian was a famous teacher of the time. He was going to be responsible for educating Domitian and Vespasian. And Sabinus was the brother who was killed by the order of the emperor. English vocab that you're expected to know. You have aptitude, that is a natural tendency. Rectitude is strict honesty. Gratitude is thankfulness. You know what? I'm not even going to try. Here you go.
Verisimilitude. 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 Verisimilitude.
One more time.
Verisimilitude.
That is the appearance of looking real or appearing real. Certitude is assurance.
Querulous. Querulous. Querulous.
I can't even say that. That has to do with complaining. Demented is mentally ill. Ignoramus and demented are associated with most of y'all. Ignoramus is a person lacking knowledge. Dexterous is someone who is very coordinated, having skill or with their hands, dexterous. The next one.
Unctuous. Unctuous. Unctuous.
Unctuous has to do with being oily. Latin words, ungere is to join. Lex is law. Clam is silent. Lemon is a threshold, and curtis is certain. And finally, I have public school education. Nothing wrong with this. I mean, these guys are 100% safe and ingenious. Good luck on your test tomorrow.